It's homecoming week. You're listening to the Wildcast podcast. I'm Justin Spears here with Michael Lev. We'll be breaking down the Arizona-Kansas football game Saturday afternoon at Arizona Stadium. And then later on in the podcast, our good buddy Jordan Hamm will stop by to help us with Big 12 Bonanza. Light schedule this week when it comes to the Big 12 in comparison to other weeks, but still some interesting games that we will pick on the back end of this podcast.
You know what that means, Justin?
What's that?
That means less games that I can lose. So this is
less games.
I'm viewing this light schedule as a positive development.
But this game coming up here between Arizona and Kansas, I'm dubbing it the Bowl Eligibility Bowl.
Yeah,
both teams both have 5 wins,
but it's true. Yeah,
Bowl Eligibility Bowl, right? These are two teams that are known for basketball. And you're actually writing about that this week on Tucson.com and the Wildcaster mobile app. And these two teams are trying to get to bowl eligibility. And man, what a win it would be for Brent Brennan after such a disastrous season last year, where there were expectations and they were expected to make some noise in their first year in the Big 12. And what do? Well, they fell on their face. Injuries, all sorts of other things, poor coaching hires, or at least not making the right coaching hires. Now, it seems like Arizona has the right coaches in place. It seems like the culture is in a really good place. And, we asked the question, will Redline show up against Colorado? Will the different version of the Wildcats show up on the road after a bye week, after they lost 2 really tough games? Which version of Arizona is going to show up? And I know that Colorado's dealing with all sorts of problems, Lev, but I think that team that we saw last week in Boulder, if they can come out and replicate or at least play similar to that, then I think this team is maybe a little bit better than we thought going into this year.
Yeah, they definitely showed up in a big way in Boulder, and now they just have to go out and do it, right? Like, the path has been laid out before them. The bowl eligibility is possible this Saturday, and they can even go beyond that, right? Like, yeah. I don't think they need to settle for 6 wins. So in that vein, we got a question from our loyal listener, John Viator. He messaged me on Threads. He says, late podcast question, with Sam Leavitt out for the season for ASU, what are Arizona's chances for a 6, 7, or 8 win season? And he put it this way. He said 6 wins, 90%, 7 wins, 75%, 8 wins, 55%. Fascinating topic. I think that he's onto something here, because the Leavitt injury, it opens the door to that game being more competitive than it might have been otherwise. I think Arizona State will be favored still when we get to that point, if things go kind of according to form from here on out. But Arizona is favored this week. They should be favored against Baylor, right? So let's just say, for the sake of argument, that they win both of those games. They would be sitting at 7-4 when they go up to Tempe, with a chance to finish 8-4, and maybe even have a equal or better record than the Sun Devils. The way I put it in my 5 takeaways after last week was it's time to dream big a little bit here, and it's not a pipe dream. Like, it's a possibility.
I thought about this, Lev, with the whole Sam Leavitt injury, and I'm hesitant to pick the Wildcats against ASU just because it's the quarterback, Jeff Sims. I mean, he rushed.
Like, this might be worse for Arizona, right?
I'm like, yeah, exactly. This might be a worse matchup for the Wildcats. They got a mobile quarterback, and Sam Leavitt. I mean, Sam Leavitt is a decent athlete, but he's not Jeff Sims running for over 200 yards.
All credit to Kenny Dillingham and Marcus Arroyo for the way they schemed up that game. They made him look like Khalil Tate.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, he was awesome.
Yeah.
He was awesome. He ran almost 30 times, I think, which, it's hard on anybody's body to do that, and we'll see what it looks like for their remaining games. But I thought that was an interesting question from our guy John, and it's certainly something to think about What will it take to win this game? I think Arizona needs to make sure they stop the run. We knew that just wasn't Colorado's MO. They kind of did it for one drive. That just isn't really the way they play. Kansas is capable of running the football, right? Pretty substantially. They have two good running backs in Daniel Highshaw and LaShawn Williams. They've combined for 754 yards and 10 touchdowns this season. Jalen Daniels is a good runner. He's also a good thrower. Like, he has a 20-3 touchdown interception ratio, which is right there with Noah Fafita's. And they do a lot of, when you watch them, like, it's a lot of motion. Like, they're just trying to, like, give you that eye candy. But that's kind of what Arizona does defensively too. So that is to me, the most fascinating matchup is Kansas offense against Arizona's defense.
Yeah. And, how can those guys, how can Arizona stop the run? I mean, Jalen Daniels is a good runner. He's effective. Is he the best running quarterback that Arizona has faced this year?
No.
Probably not, right? I mean, Avery Johnson was a really good runner, even though Kansas State didn't really use him. Bear Bachmeier, one hell of a runner as well. But Jalen Daniels can get you. I mean, he's put up a ton of production in his very long career at Kansas. I mean, he's been there, now 6 years at KU? Been there ever since
It's true, since 2020.
Yeah, been there since the COVID year. So this is a veteran player who's mature, and he's also athletic too. So he's a very smart player. And Brent Brennan actually kind of lightly recruited him. I was looking at his 24/7 recruiting profile from 2020, and he didn't have an offer from San Jose State, but they were one of the teams that were sort of interested. So they've had their eyes on Jalen Daniels for a little bit now.
He was a pretty under recruited player. Period.
Yeah.
Like, he came from Lawndale High School, which is it's not like known for producing a ton of college players to the same degree as St. John Bosco or Mater Dei or any number of other powerhouses in Southern California. And he's really had a long and interesting and pretty prosperous career. They did go to 2 bowl games in 2022 and 23. That was the second and third years of the Lance Leipold era. Before that, Justin, they hadn't gone to a bowl since 2008. So a 14-year drought for the quote-unquote basketball school that is Kansas. If there's a vulnerability for this Jayhawks team, it's their defense.
Yeah.
You look at almost any measure out there, and this is, I think it's a vulnerable defense. It is one that can be attacked. They allow 170 rushing yards per game, 4.7 yards per carry. They're 11th in the league in passing defense. I mean, Arizona's way better on that side of the ball. And I like the way Arizona's playing on offense. I know the grades weren't that great from PFF this week for reasons that cannot be fully explained. And they obviously had a lot of short fields. But they're kind of showing they're sort of is amoeba the right word? Or chameleon maybe is a better word. Like, they can adopt to whatever, or adapt. I don't know what I'm saying. Whatever the defense is giving, they can take advantage of that. We saw the short passing game against Houston, and then we saw a lot more downfield shots and big plays against Colorado's man coverage. So, I really like how that unit has evolved. And heck, man, Noah Fafita is playing really well again. Like, he's starting to look like 2023 Noah. A little past the midway point of the season here, and that's a really encouraging sign.
You are right, Lev. I mean, this offense is like a chameleon. Like, they can just, whatever the defense is showing, they just are like, okay, let's scheme up our offense around it. Let's get the ball out of Noah's hands quickly. That's exactly what they did against Houston. And then, like you said, last week against Colorado, that ADOT was up a pretty significant amount.
It was the highest of the season.
So
it went from the lowest to the highest. It was 9 yards higher.
Yeah. And we're talking about 2 games where he went had the completion percentage record in a single game by an Arizona Wildcat. And then the next week throws for 4 touchdowns and is the Big 12 Offensive Player of the Week.
Yeah.
So
how many does he need? How many touchdown passes does he need to become the all-time leader?
3.
3 more.
Needs 3. Yeah, which
so he could become the all-time leader in Arizona history in touchdown passes with 3 games to go in his junior year, with another year of eligibility if he wants to come back.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
he
then
can just blow past those guys if he decides to stay.
Yeah.
Do you
and
figure
then yards? It'll be like kind of later or like in halfway through next year.
If he stays here and stays healthy and plays well, he'll throw another 30 touchdown passes in his career, right? Maybe even. What does he have now? He's got 21.
Yeah, for this season, he got 21.
For this season. So, man, that's something. I'm telling you, man. Start planning where to put that statue for Noah.
Yeah.
Or maybe you do a Noah and T-Mac little combo statue.
He also
high-fiving each other or something.
Like the what he also means beyond just the stats, right? Like, I understand 2024 was an epic disaster, right? But like, him and T-Mac gave Tucsonans and Arizona football fans hope. And then he could have easily been like, okay, this is bad. I'm out of here, right? Like, the transfer portal gives players that option to just jump ship, get out of there, get away before it gets really bad. And Noah is the kind of person to where he runs towards the fire, not away from it. And he was just like, you know what? I know I doubled down last year on Arizona. I'm tripling down this year. We're going to figure out ways to fix these issues. And I think that's very commendable. And so I think Noah, and just kind of his reputation and just kind of where he fits in the Arizona football lore and the stats. Listen, I'm not going to sit here and like shake my fist, like, give this man a statue. But, if Arizona was just like, you know what, Noah, here's a statue, I'm going to be like, you know what, well deserved.
And yeah, I mean, he would really clinch it if they went to 3 straight bowl games, or 3 bowl games in 4 years, I should say.
For sure.
With him as the starting quarterback, which is also something that's in play. Still got to do it. Still got to get it done. Obviously a lot of things can change between now and next season, but he's in a good position. He is also, as you mentioned, like, just unusually mature, like way beyond his years. He's just a great leader, humble, hardworking, will always take the blame, right? Whether he deserves it or not, which is, I think, is a good trait in a quarterback or a head coach. So, kudos to Noah. He's really kind of figured it out and turned it on, and looks like he's comfortable in Seth Iggy's offense. It just took a little while. He had some good games early in the season, but it was kind of up and down. It didn't look as smooth as it has lately.
But man, yeah, if you look at Noah, really, since Big 12 play started, I mean, he has really turned it up another notch. I mean, really ever since the Iowa State game as well. I think.
And what's funny is Rocco Baptist like gone the opposite direction.
Yeah, right.
Since then, we'll get to that. We'll get to Iowa State a little bit more later. But man, I mean, if I had told you after that game that Rocco Baptist 4 weeks later would have an 11-7 touchdown to interception ratio, you never would have believed it, right? No way. And yet here we are.
Yeah, Noah. But yeah, we already mentioned Big 12 Offensive Player of the Week after his 4 touchdown performance this past week against Colorado. And Lev, we talk about Noah Fafita. Who's been that receiver that has impressed you over the last couple of weeks while Noah has been playing well?
I mean, I'd say there's 2 that jump to mind, although multiple guys have contributed. But one is Chris Hudson, who was banged up a little bit early in the season, missed some time. But you can really tell lately that the chemistry has improved a lot with the new number 4 at wide receiver, right? Like, it was just very precise route running and timing between those 2 on a few plays against Colorado, those stop routes, the fade in the end zone. I mean, that was really good stuff. So that's kind of what they expected out of Chris Hudson. He just was a little banged up. I think it was hamstring or something of that nature, which has kind of been the injury of the year for the football team. So he's looking really good. And then the other one is Trey Spivey, who it feels like he's just scratching the surface, right? I mean, this guy is big. He's fast. He's really determined when he gets that ball in his hands. Like, it is hard to tackle this dude. He had a really impressive kind of physical touchdown against Oklahoma State earlier in the year. And then against Colorado, I mean, he takes a bubble screen, the distance, and he's doing spin moves. He's making guys miss. People wonder, like, why aren't they getting him the ball a little bit more? He's still learning, right? Like, I know he's a redshirt sophomore, but, first year in a new system, kind of struggled a little bit in spring. I wouldn't say struggled, but it wasn't this, right? Like, he had moments, but it wasn't this. So I think, like, as they say, like, his best football is still ahead of him.
Well, and, I asked Bobby Wade, the Arizona receivers coach, like, we're impressed by his speed. Maybe we're a little bit surprised just because we didn't really see that in the spring, and also kind of the early stages of training camp, right? He was the possession receiver that was going to come down with the football and make the highlight grab, jump over people, high point catches. Like, he had that in his bag, but the breakaway speed and getting away from defenders and the yak, I didn't know Trey Spivey had that. And Bobby Wade said something that was a little bit interesting, and he kind of had the same conversation with Tetairoa McMillan going into last year. He's like, dude, you're 6'4", like, and you're a massive human being. You're hard to tackle. I kind of compare it to, like, okay, if receivers are cars, Chris Hudson compared to Trey Spivey is more like a sedan, right? Chris Hudson might be like a sports car type of player, where Trey Spivey is he's a fast car, but he's definitely a little bit bigger. Maybe like one of those, like, Lamborghini SUVs that you see nowadays, right? And Bobby Wade said it's hard to bring down a 6'4" player with your size. So use your size and use it to your advantage for your yak. And one thing I found interesting, Lev, I didn't know this until I wrote about all the receivers earlier in the week, is that Trey Spivey has more yak this year than he had total yards in his first 2 seasons at Kansas State. Like, how about that? Like, and so he's doing a lot of really good things with the ball in his hands. And he's really turned into a nice playmaker. And, when you add in Gio Richardson, who's now, really starting to settle into the offense, I know Javon Watley and Chris Hudson and Luke Weissong, those are the veteran guys that get talked about a lot. But, man, I think that nucleus of wide receivers could be really impressive next year when you bring back a Spivey, a Gio Richardson. Chris Hunter also has another year of eligibility. So that starting trio could be really impressive even next year. So
yeah, that's a great stat that you dug up there. I am in 2026 with the Arizona Wildcats and college football 26, the video game, and that is my main quartet of receivers in year 2 of the dynasty. Now, I did have to get Trey Spivey out of the portal. Don't ask why guys are going in, like Noah transferred. Like, it doesn't make any sense. The reasoning behind it. I actually lowered how many guys could transfer, but I ended up losing 4. Spivey was one of the 5 who left, and I was able to get him back. But yeah, that's a really nice nucleus that they have there. And we were talking too offline about they might have a nice nucleus at defensive line going into next year too. When you look at Leroy Palu, who's got another year, they hope Ezra Funa, who had to redshirt this year, will be eligible and good to go. He had someone they really liked. Zach Ciulepa, huge dude who can move. Like, give him a full off season in the weight program. You've got Maze Pese, who's impressed as a freshman. If you want to call Chase Kennedy an edge rusher, a lineman, that's his primary job. That's not bad. And you don't see that a lot around here in Arizona. Like, major credit if all those guys stick around to Joe Salavea for kind of pooling that group together and coaching them up. He's not responsible for all those guys coming here, some of them, but he's done a really good job coaching that unit. That was a huge upgrade that they made in the offseason.
And, they also have some really good defensive linemen and currently committed. And I don't know how much they're going to rely on freshmen up front on the defensive line, but, Keatron Harris, 6'3", 290 pounds. Manoa Fapusa, who is Dash Fafita's teammate at Santa Margarita High School, playing for Carson Palmer. He's already like 350, just a massive human being for an incoming freshman. So they got some reinforcements. Yeah, I think that defensive line next year could be one of the strengths of the team, which says a lot because, like you said, Lev, if you look at Arizona football in recent years, they have not really been known for the big guys up front in the trenches.
No, well, the best year that they've had in decades was 2023, and that was a year where they had a really good defensive line, and they were good against the run.
Yeah.
And it's just so critical. I know it's all about the passing game and spread offense and all. You have to be able to stop the run. And again, as we mentioned earlier, that is something to keep an eye on in Saturday's game against Kansas.
So before we get our guy Jordan Hamm on to do our Big 12 picks and also preview the Arizona-Kansas game for homecoming, Lev, so we talk about the matchup between Kansas's offense and Arizona's defense. And, stopping the run is key because Daniel Highshaw is a really good running back. Jalen Daniels is also an effective runner. I think a big thing for this game is, and it's simple, can Arizona win the turnover battle? Because one thing about Kansas is that they run the football really well and they don't turn over the football. If you look at Jalen Daniels this year, he had
3 picks,
20 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. And Arizona, they've got more takeaways this year than they had last year. They're like on pace to have more takeaways this year than the last 2 seasons combined.
I guess what I would say about that is Kansas doesn't take the ball away either. Right? They don't give it away, but they also don't take it away. I think they have half as many takeaways as Arizona.
Yep.
Do I have that right?
Yep.
So, I think that stat favors the Wildcats. I'm not expecting an avalanche of turnovers like we saw in Colorado, but heck, man, if you end up like +1 or +2, that could make the difference.
Yeah.
We talked about this earlier in the week too. I think having Ian Wagner be able to boot the ball through the end zone negates one of the best kickoff returners in the country.
Yep.
And Emmanuel Henderson. And all of a sudden, Arizona's got itself a weapon in the punt return game. If they can force the other team to punt, in Luke Wysong, he's second in the Big 12 in punt return average. Sort of like, it's one of those like, maybe he should have had the job from the beginning kind of deals, right? Like he looked really good, I thought, against Colorado. It was a really good job of getting north-south.
Yeah.
And so I think they do have a good kicker in Laith Marjan, who's 12 for 12 this year. And Arizona's kickers are I don't know. I sort of feel like they're still in that like box of chocolates stage, right? You just never know what you're going to get. Isaac Lovison I think he had a 54 or 57 yard punt, and then his next one was like 26.
Yeah.
So there's still some inconsistency there, but overall, I think I would give Arizona the edge in special teams too.
I was going to say, maybe that's an underrated storyline. The kicking game, special teams, field position, all of that jazz.
Well, if you're looking for storylines, which you are, Justin, as a person who writes the 5 storylines, maybe I just gave you one.
The kicking game, man.
Write about the kicking game or the red area or the state of the program.
It's always program. All right. Let's talk about the Big 12 programs that are playing this week for Big 12 Bonanza. We've got Jordan Hamm from Sports 360 AZ joining the podcast as he does every single week. Jordy, what's up, man?
How are we doing, fellas?
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
So what's your schedule looking like this week?
I will be in the old Pueblo, taking in Arizona and Kansas. Two teams battling for a Big 12 or a bowl eligibility. So excited to check this one out.
I was thinking about who's like the most famous Kansas like NFL player of all time.
Well, it's Gale Sayers.
Okay.
If you want to go way back, yes. But like more recent times, that's a good question. I'm try to see if I can do a search on Kansas players to see who's got like the highest, like there's this version of WAR. It's not called WAR that they do on the sports reference site. So if you guys can think of anybody in the meantime, while I'm looking this up, but Gale Sayers would be the one. Like if you go to Kansas and like check out their Hall of Fame, like it's a very cool thing to do inside the Fog Allen. Yeah, Gale Sayers, he's the dude. The Kansas Comet.
Thanks to a very quick Google search, Chris Harris Jr., Jordy Nelson, some more modern ones. Those are two pretty good options.
Aqib Talib.
Oh yeah.
And most recently, Kobe Bryant, cornerback.
That's right.
Yeah. So
Kobe with a C.
Kobe with a C. I was going to say Sauce Gardner, but that's a Cincinnati guy. But yeah, I was thinking, I was like, man, not a lot of NFL players coming out of KU, but lots of NBA players.
Running back John Riggins from back in the day.
Oh, John Riggins was a Kansas guy?
According to NFL.com. Okay. The more you know.
I heard Riggins, and I for some reason I thought Higgins from Friday Night Lights. Isn't it Riggins? Isn't it Tim Riggins? Is it Riggins?
Because isn't it Riggins Riggs that they?
Oh yes. Okay. All right, we digress. Let's get to
as always
Big 12 picks for this week.
I appreciate you procrastinating so that we wouldn't have to talk about how bad some of us were at picking games or have been lately at picking games. My slump continues. Another 2-5 week over here at Lev Corp, trying to circle the wagons here, figure out what's going on. Justin, somehow you were even worse. Sorry, buddy. 1-6 against the spread. And the rookie, Jordan Hamm, 5-2. As a result of all that, Jordan is now tied. Jordan and Justin are tied for first place.
Wow.
For the season at 36-37 against the spread, while I am way back at 30-43. But I guess Justin's bad week kind of, the pack has come a little bit closer. Maybe there's a chance to move up here against the straight up record. Justin's in first place at 51-22. Jordan and I are both 49-24.
You know what they call me, man? Cliff Kingsbury, Big 12 picks. Great first half. Second half, oof.
I'm just waiting for the pregame dance. That's all I'm waiting for.
Was he the one who they showed like sitting in his like luxurious living room and
on draft night?
Now I'm picturing Justin in that kind of pose, with the fireplace going, maybe the dog at his feet.
It suits you. Yeah, I think he was really into like lions. Like that was like his spirit animal. So I think he had a bunch of lion paintings around too, if I remember correctly.
He's a Leo.
That's what it was. So with that, I remember, because obviously that was COVID. Everybody was at home taking in the draft. Shout out to Catherine Fitzgerald, who she covers the Bills now, but at the time she worked for AZ Central and was one of the Cardinals reporters. So we show up to the media Zoom with Isaiah Simmons, I think was the first round pick that year. And her Zoom background was his house from the photo. And she just played it off like, oh, what are you guys talking to? No, this is just my living room. What are you? And it was just like one of those weird COVID memories that is burned into my mind now.
Oh yeah. We've got some good ones. Well, we can talk about one of them off air. I don't want to embarrass one of our fellow Tucson media members on the podcast here. So we got a big controversy Friday, guys. It's the space game. It's UCF against Houston. It's at 6 p.m. and it's on FS1. And, Houston claims to be Space City, right? I mean, the phrase is like, Houston, we have a problem. And you've got Orlando, which also claims to be like Space U, big, space town. Which one do you guys think is the true Space City?
Oh, man.
I don't know if it's more, but I think the branding's better for Houston.
Houston, we have a problem.
Yeah.
But like, okay, Orlando, like their stadium, FBC Mortgage Stadium, if you stand on the 50-yard line, you can see the launching pad. Like when they
Cape Canaveral, right?
Yeah, Cape Canaveral. So
That's
when they have launches, it goes right over the 50-yard line. So I think that's a really cool trait. But like Jordan said, branding, Houston, we have a problem. So I'll give H-Town the nod on that one.
But UCF has done such a good job of marketing the space game.
Totally.
Annual game. They have cool uniforms every single year. They change mascots for the week to the Citronaut.
Yeah.
Right?
It's great.
And they have just kicked ass and taken names in this game. They are 8-0 in the first 8 space games, outscored their opponents 405 to 159. So the average score in those games is 51-20. They beat Arizona 56-12 last year. They have played Houston one time previously in 2019. That score is 44-29, which is actually the second smallest margin in a space game. They beat Temple by 12, 52-40. And yet, despite all of this, and despite the fact that Houston lost at home last week to West Virginia, gave up 246 yards on the ground, Houston is favored by 1.5 points. Vegas is not taking into consideration the power of the space game. So I think this is an easy one. I'm taking UCF. You cannot go against UCF in the space game.
405 to 159 in 8 games.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Listen, I'm just going to follow history, and I think history repeats itself. UCF gets it done, man. I mean, 1.5. There's no respect for the Knights at home for the space game.
Is this being played in 0G, or is this on Earth? I'm gonna be the party pooper. I'm gonna zag. I'm going Houston. It's an awesome atmosphere, and I hope that I get to experience one of these soon. But I'm just gonna take the Cougs, who got beat up a little bit last week, but I'm gonna go with the Cougs.
The details in the space game are unreal too. Not just the uniforms, but if you look at the end zones, how they paint them, the paddings on the field goal posts. Like if you look at it, you could see the different like constellations and stuff like that. Like all the little details for the space game is unreal. I agree with you guys. I think they do a great job marketing that. So yeah, give me UCF.
Just want to say that on November 18th, UCF beat West Virginia 45-13. And last week, Houston lost to West Virginia at home 45-35. For whatever it's worth. Maybe not that much.
For whatever it's worth. Baylor also lost to UCF 30-3.
Or UCF lost to Baylor 30-3.
Yeah. I feel, what did I say? I don't know what I said. UCF lost to Baylor. I feel like Lev and I are switching places because I'm usually like the one that's like the vibes. I'm just going vibes, and Lev is so logical. But this time it's like space game. Here we go, and I'm like, look at all these data points and elements.
I am. It's called desperation, is what it's called. Okay. Speaking of West Virginia, they are hosting Colorado at 10 a.m. on Saturday, and that game is on TNT. And when I sent out the lines, West Virginia was favored by 6.5 points in this one. Coming off that big win, kind of a breakthrough win for the program under Rich Rod at Houston, which was in the top 25 at the time. As mentioned, they had 246 yards on the ground, which seems like a good formula against Colorado, which is last in the Big 12 in rushing defense. Colorado, as Justin and I speculated earlier in the week, is making a change at quarterback. They're going with the freshman Julian Lewis. conceivably for the rest of the way here. That situation has just been in flux the entire season. Caden Salter, kind of a disappointment coming out of the portal, coming over from Liberty. Colorado is really reeling right now. Outscored 105-24 in their last 2 games. And, they're running out of time here to get to bowl eligibility. They're 3-6. Loser of this game, the opposite of the Arizona Kansas game. The loser will be out of the bowl picture as both teams are 3-6. I guess my question is, can West Virginia handle success? Young team coming off this big win. I'm going to say that they do. I'm going to say that Deion Sanders is having trouble connecting with this team right now, and they're just not going to want to be there. If West Virginia gets up early, they're going to be like, why the hell what are we doing in Morgantown, West Virginia on a Saturday morning? Let's get the hell out of here. I'm going to lay the points and take the Mountaineers.
This is a really hard game to pick just because West Virginia's passing defense ranks near the bottom of the Big 12, and that is really Colorado's bread and butter, even with a freshman quarterback. I thought that Julian Lewis, albeit it was against Arizona's second and third stringers, gave them a little shot in the arm and kind of gave them a little spark. So maybe with a little preparation as the starter this week, maybe we see Julian Lewis really step up. Obviously he's a gamer, right? He didn't win the quarterback job in the offseason against Caden Salter. So this is hard, man. But I'm going to go with Colorado to win this game. I do think that West Virginia has a solid young quarterback in Scotty Fox. I think Rich Rodriguez has found his guy that he can kind of build his offense around. But, I'm going to get crazy here. I'm going to go with Colorado and the freshman quarterback and Julian Lewis to lead the Buffaloes with a win.
I just don't know how you can watch the last 2 games of Colorado and feel confident about anything. And yes,
2 games.
Juju Lewis, he is a highly touted guy. He is a stud. It was a massive deal when he went to Colorado. But I just don't know about the supporting cast around him and if he can stay upright and if he can have enough time to make those throws. You're also putting him in a situation where he's going on the road in a good West Virginia atmosphere where even if they don't play great, the crowds and the atmosphere are still pretty good. So I think that West Virginia is going to win this one comfortably. So I will lay the points and take West Virginia.
Well, hopefully there's no more brandishing weapons on the Colorado side of things. That was a big thing. See, this season, Colorado, not really a penalized team. They're in that upper quarter of, teams that are penalized this year. They've done a nice job, but man, 14 penalties for 110 yards. They were really undisciplined in that game against Arizona. And for the first time ever, I've heard brandishing a weapon when it comes to a penalty call.
Did you happen to listen to the broadcast last Saturday, Jordy, at all?
Yeah, I had it on most of the time. Yeah, I was keeping track. Yeah,
because Tim Brando is just he was.
There were some.
Juju Lewis was the greatest player who ever lived.
You'd think they won by 35,
and they had this good hands play of the day, and it was Colorado's 1 touchdown.
It was.
I don't know, man.
Very bizarre, and just
not Jalen Watley.
Some touchdowns that happened and just kind of no call. I was like, oh, it's incomplete. It was not the strongest of broadcasts on Saturday night. I'll just put it that way.
I know. I usually don't buy into when fans say, oh, the broadcasters are favoring the other team. And I kind of felt that a little bit this last week. He also kept saying that Arizona was 4-4 when they were 4-3. Come on, dude. Let's get the basics. Okay. Game of the day, maybe the game of the season. BYU at Texas Tech. Game day is in Lubbock. This game is on ABC at 10 o'clock. Big 12 doesn't get a lot of ABC games. It's usually all SEC all the time. But in the first CFP rankings, BYU number 7, Texas Tech number 8. This is a big deal. BYU is 8-0. They're 5-0 in the conference. They're 4-0 on the road. Texas Tech 8-1, 5-1, 3-0 at home. 5-0 at home. Their only loss to Arizona State when Arizona State actually had its guys, right? In a pretty magical Saturday afternoon in Tempe. Baron Morton came back last week, 21 for 32, 249 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Another team with 2 really good running backs, right? Last week it was Jacoby Williams, 17 for 135 and a touchdown. There have been some national college football media people who floated the name of Jacob Rodriguez for the Heisman Trophy. Now, I know it's not going to happen because linebackers don't win the Heisman. It's definitely notable when a guy has 7 forced fumbles on the season already, which is the most in the nation. And he's not somebody that they bought out of the portal. He's been there for a few years. He's just that dude for that really, really good Texas Tech defense. And they are still number 1 in the league in scoring offense, scoring defense, total offense, total defense. BYU is good. They're not that good. The biggest matchup, I think, in this game, guys, is BYU's rushing offense against Texas Tech's rushing defense. BYU is number 2 in the league in rushing, and Texas Tech is number 1 in rushing defense by a ton, by almost 50 yards a game. 74.6 yards allowed versus the next closest team is 120.1. So, like, if Texas Tech can stop the run and put Bear Bachmeier in uncomfortable situations, I think they would have the advantage. I just feel like 10.5, which is a spread here, is kind of disrespectful toward a BYU team that has passed every test and has gone on the road and beaten good teams and overcome all kinds of difficult situations. So I'm going to take Texas Tech to win the game, but I'm going to take the 10.5 points and say that BYU keeps it close. And that would be the ideal scenario for the Big 12 to eventually get 2 teams into the CFP. BYU loses today. They play each other again in the Big 12 championship. BYU wins that game, and maybe both of them go.
That'd be ideal. I was worried about this matchup. I was like, man, I really hope that these 2 teams are undefeated when they meet each other, because I think that these 2 teams are going to play against each other in Dallas. These are 2 really good teams that could win the national championship. But if there's one team that I'm leaning towards winning the national championship from the Big 12, it's this Texas Tech team. Yeah, they lost to ASU, but they lost by 4 points on the road. Since then, they've outscored their opponents 85-20. I know that I think one of those opponents was poor Oklahoma State, which was right after that loss to ASU. But yeah, Texas Tech to me is the most dominant team in the Big 12. You just feel like at this point BYU is due, especially on the road. Like, they've been in these last road games, they've just been kind of being skating by. I think this week against Texas Tech, I think they suffered their first loss, but I do think that BYU covers. So yeah, Texas Tech wins, but the Cougars cover. And if Jacob Rodriguez wins the Heisman, man, he better take Lee Hunter and David Bailey and those guys. He better take him out to Sizzler or something. Like, he needs to take him out to a nice meal, because I mean, the reason why he's able to get so many tackles and make so many plays, I mean, he's a good playmaker, but that defensive line is really like that heart and soul of that Texas Tech defense. And those guys going up against BYU's offensive line, if you're a football sicko, this is a game that you want to tune into.
Yeah, David Bailey's number 1 in the nation in sacks with 11.5.
There you go.
Money well spent. Jordy, What's got?
Lev, you said Rodriguez has forced 7 fumbles.
Yeah.
So I went to, I cannot confirm this site, cfbstats.com. But according to my math, he has more forced fumbles than 82 teams in the nation on his own. He has more than Arizona and Arizona State. They're sitting there right at 6.
That's crazy.
I'm zagging. I'm going BYU. I know that they are going on the road. I know Bear Bachmeier is going to be in a hostile environment. While it may be ideal for the Big 12 for it to go the other way and try to get 2 in, I'm here for the chaos. I want to see Big 12 craziness in this last month. And I think BYU being perfect and then having a bunch of other teams beat each other up to try to get that other spot is more compelling to me than probably Texas Tech wins, probably runs the rest of the table. BYU loses, they have a game against TCU. At Cincy, I think they'll probably win both of those. And then it's just kind of like coasting. I want to see the top chaos. So I'm going to go BYU. A very physical team. LJ Martin sounds like he's coming back for this one and full go. I think it's going to be a great game, and I think it's going to be an absolute slugfest.
Jordy loves the chaos.
I truly do.
And I embrace that idea as well, to be sure. All right, there's one more game before we get to Arizona and Kansas. This is Iowa State at TCU. This one is also in that 1:30 p.m. slot. Remember, we have gone into past daylight savings time. We're in standard time now. So those games that used to be at 9 are now at 10. The games that used to be at 12:30 are now at 1:30. The Iowa State TCU game is on Fox. TCU is favored by 6.5. What the heck happened to Iowa State? They were 5-0, and they are now 5-4.
I was like, TCU won and covered.
Seems
That's crazy,
simple, right? Like, they haven't won since that Arizona game. That was in September. That's like a million years ago. And you saw, I watched a good bit of that game against ASU. I'm sure, Jordan, you were watching it very closely. Like, and I said this to Justin earlier, like, they made Jeff Sims look like Khalil Tate in that game. Credit to Jeff Sims, credit to Kenny Dillingham and Marcus Arroyo, but man, Iowa State seemed to have no answer. TCU is a very different type of team, though. Like, they are last in the league in rushing. They want to throw the football around. And we know that, and one of the reasons I think that some of us picked Iowa State last week, like, their weakness on defense is actually the secondary, where they have had a lot of injuries. So this also seems like a bad matchup. There is no logical reason whatsoever to take Iowa State in this game. So I'm going to take Iowa State to at least cover the 6.5 and say that they keep it close against TCU. What do you guys got?
I will repeat what I said at the start of this. TCU to win and cover. No, well, also, another thing, too, Rocco Becht has kind of been a little bit on the decline, which is crazy because, like, he was one of my favorite quarterbacks in the Big 12 this year.
Totally plateaued. It's wild.
So I can't explain
it. What did you see when you watched them, Jordan?
I saw Rocco probably forcing it a little bit downfield. Give credit to the ASU defense because they just are stingy and they don't give up a ton of big plays. But the defense, it was they struggled in the trenches. And again, credit ASU for they kind of reworked their offense to make it more of a power run type deal where it was just kind of like Jeff Sims was running that Cam Newton. I'm just going to run head first and pick up 4 and just eat up the clock. But yeah, it just looks like a team that is just so beat up physically, beat up mentally. And whenever there was like kind of that big moment where it felt like it was going to like, okay, kind of the pixie dust has worn off for ASU, they would make a play or Iowa State would make a mistake. So I feel like they're just kind of in their own heads, but it could be a Matt Campbell special where he gets them right here in the late in the season and they get going. But I just feel like TCU and Josh Hoover, like they're coming off a bye. Iowa State's coming off a tough loss to ASU. I like the Horned Frogs, and I think that they're going to be able to kind of exploit those injuries in the secondary for Iowa State.
All right, I'm on an island on that one. I figured I would be. Last game of the 5, it's Kansas at Arizona. Homecoming for Arizona. This game is also in that 1:30 time slot. It's on ESPN2, and the Wildcats are favored by 4.5 points. We went over a bunch of stats earlier. One that I would like to bring up at this time is opponent explosive plays. So Arizona has allowed 20 plays of 20 or more yards against their opponents. That is the lowest in the Big 12. Kansas has allowed 45 plays of 20 or more yards. That is tied for 13th in the Big 12. I think this defense is exploitable. And I think Arizona's offense is in a good spot, a good space right now. I think the spread's kind of light. I thought it would be maybe like 6.5 or so. I don't know. Vegas has had a hard time figuring out Arizona the last couple of years. So anyway, I'm going to take the Wildcats in this one to win and cover that 4.5. I can see them winning this game by 10 to 14 points.
The key number is 3. Noah needs 3 touchdowns to become the all-time passing touchdowns leader in Arizona history, passing Nick Foles and Willie Tuitama. Some incredible company right there. I mean, Noah Fafita has the opportunity to pass the Super Bowl MVP from a few years ago as the touchdowns leader in Arizona history. And then he's going to come back next year and just completely smash that record. So I think Noah Fafita gets it done. I think he passes for at least 3 touchdowns. He gets that record. And then I think Arizona's defense, the one thing about them is that they lead the Big 12 in interceptions. They're tied with Utah for 12 interceptions. They already have more takeaways this year than they had last year. They've had 2 5-takeaway games this year, which hasn't been done since 2000. This Arizona defense, it's, they don't have like the size, that can, go up against some of these heavy hitters, type of offenses. We kind of saw that against Iowa State, but this defense is fast and they figure out ways to come up with some big plays. Now, with that being said, Colorado, there were a couple of those interceptions were just kind of delivered on a silver platter. I think that one to Aiden Garnes, like Aiden Garnes just had to sit there and just catch the ball. But this defense, they do a really nice job of forcing takeaways. And Jalen Daniels only has 3 interceptions this year. If they can figure out a way to create turnovers and, get Jalen Daniels to throw a costly interception, if they can figure out ways for those running backs to, fumble the football, and if they can gain possessions and then capitalize on it like they did last week against Colorado, I think this Arizona Wildcats team, they'll get their win. They'll get to the postseason finally, and then we'll see where they go from there. So, yeah, I like Arizona to win and cover this game.
We talked a lot last week about Arizona watching Colorado, Utah, and wondering if they might take the foot off the gas a little bit of, well, Colorado's really struggling. Like, we can just kind of waltz in here. And that was not the way they approached that first quarter at all. They came in and threw punches instantly. And I really like the mindset of this team right now. I love the way Noah Fafita is playing right now, spreading the ball around. I think they get the win. I think they cover. And I don't think, based on what we see this week out of Cincinnati, I don't think it's the craziest thing to think it's going to be a real toss-up between Cincinnati and Arizona the following week. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But I think they get bowl eligibility. Again, I think they're starting to progress and maybe not peak quite yet, but they're starting to get to that peak area at the right time in their season for sure.
Another thing to look for in this game, too, that I just looked up right before this podcast was Kansas is 3rd in the Big 12 when it comes to penalties. So they're, a somewhat...
3rd fewest, yeah.
Yeah, third fewest, yes. So they're a very disciplined team. It would not surprise me if we saw, a lot of times on first down, Jalen Daniels just takes a shot downfield. And tries to bait Michael Dansby or Javion Cole or whoever's playing cornerback. Aiden Garnes had a questionable PI call in that game against Houston. I think that they'll try to bait Arizona into getting those PI calls, and that could be an effective way to move the ball down the field. So yeah, this is a very disciplined team. And when you play discipline and you run the football effectively like Kansas does, that stuff travels. So it would not surprise me if we saw this game go all the way down to the wire. But I got Arizona winning and covering.
One thing I'll add, too, is they played Oklahoma State last week, and I think we all took Kansas to cover, and they didn't. Mm-hmm. And the yardage in that game was pretty close. It was 342 to 316. They allowed Oklahoma State to convert 8 of 14 third downs. So I don't know if that means anything. It was just one of those situations where Oklahoma State's been struggling against everybody. You figure Kansas is going to blow them out, and they really didn't. So I don't know. Again, for what it's worth, maybe nothing. They did outrush Oklahoma State 232 to 72 in that game. So, hey, I know we talked about this offline last week, but we had come up with the concept of a spear of wisdom, I think is what you called it, Jordan, for the end of the podcast each week from our guy.
Yes, Justin. I did.
So, yeah. So, Justin, do you have anything for the listeners before we get out of here?
Well, if you're a major corporation, just just get the deal done so we can watch ESPN on YouTube TV. That's just, because what channel's the game on this week?
ESPN2.
ESPN2, right? So unfortunately, the folks that have YouTube TV won't be able to watch the game. Freaking YouTube. I have YouTube TV.
As do I.
I feel so sad whenever I fire up my TV and I'm like so used to always going to ESPN, and I'm like, okay, I guess I'll watch the NFL Network.
I used to cover sports media. It's one of my beats, and I've been involved or have covered sort of these carriage disputes in the past, and they eventually do get settled. So, there's a glimmer of hope that it could happen before Saturday. But hey, you know what? If you're in Tucson or you're within a close drive, maybe this is the time to come to the game since you can't watch it on TV, right? If there's a spike in attendance, Justin, maybe we can give credit to the carriage dispute between
the streaming bump.
YouTube TV responsible for an extra
so
$5K at Arizona Stadium.
Monday Night Football with the Cardinals, it felt like back when they played at Sun Devil Stadium and they weren't selling games out. So the games were blacked out in local markets. It was a weird thing I never ever want to go back to. So yeah, let's get this figured out so we can watch our sports as we need to.
Were you able to watch the Monday Night Football game?
I did not. What was I? I was doing something. Oh, I was at ASU women's basketball. So like, it's not like I could really watch it that closely anyway, but while I was shooting, I wanted to have one earbud in and just kind of keep track of the game. But yeah, that was occupying my main attention. But was still getting Twitter updates. So
I guess my spear of wisdom I could also add to it is
basketball. Spears of wisdom here. Yeah, go for it.
I think that spears of wisdom. Preseason lists don't mean a damn thing. And I think if there's anything we could take away from that, it's what we saw the other night when Arizona basketball played against Florida. And Jaden Bradley wasn't considered a top 20 point guard entering college basketball this season. I think he kind of silenced the doubters and showed the guys who are sleeping on him that this guy's legit. I mean, he tested the NBA draft waters last year for a reason. He's a really good player. And, I mean, the fact that he wasn't considered a top 20 point guard in college basketball, I think is asinine. So, spear of wisdom, preseason rankings, preseason lists, no bueno. All right. That is it for the Wildcast podcast. Jordy, what are some things that you're working on?
Yeah, so right now, kind of in the throes of now basketball season kicking off. So it's crossover season. So love that. So doing some basketball coverage for ASU. Definitely want to get to Tucson and check out the men's and women's teams as well. And then doing play-by-play this week on the CW with Basha and Perry squaring off. So that's been a fun little thing I've gotten to work in this fall. Gotten to do 3 games. So it's been fun. So a lot of big time recruits in this one. So if any are relevant to U of A, I'll try to get some post-game coverage there.
I feel like Basha, don't they have like a bunch of really good like sophomores or like younger players? Or
they have some good sophomores, and then they have 2 juniors, Jake Hildebrand, who's like one of the top tackles in the country, and Noah Roberts, who's regarded as the number 1 running back in the 2027 class. They're both juniors. So, and then you have Cale Snyder on the other side, who is committed to Boise State right now for Perry. He's the son of Adam Snyder, longtime NFL offensive tackle, and he helps out on the team and that sort of thing. So a lot of cool little connections with these 2 teams for sure.
You and Cody Cameron gonna be on the mics?
Yeah, me and Cody. And actually, now that I think about it, Chris McDonald, head coach of Basha, coached Jacob Cowing back in at some point with the crossover with Maricopa High School.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah,
man, you and Cody, that is a dynamite tandem right there.
It's a blast, man.
I'm gonna be watching that.
It's so fun. And it's one of those things where there are times I can just I'll just let Cody go and just he will be doing the nuts and the bolts, and he knows all these high school players so well. So it's been fun to just longtime friend, but first time we're working on air together. So it's been great.
I don't think I've ever told Cody this, but from the time I met him and I've gotten to know him very well over the years, he reminds me so much of a younger. And Yogi's not old, right? I mean, Yogi's still freaking young as hell, but he is very Yogi Roth-esque, where like he knows the game, breaks it down perfectly, but like is one of the most uber positive people you will ever meet.
That is a great, I've never put those two together, but that is a great observation. And yes, you like just feel good about life, like walking away from a conversation with Cody and Yogi. And then you also like learned a bunch of stuff regarding football with those two.
Yeah. Yeah. Cody and Yogi, man, those two, I love talking football and I love just talking about life with those guys. So
for sure.
It's going to be a great broadcast. All right. Friday night at 7:00.
Thursday at 7. Yeah.
Thursday at 7.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where can people watch it?
They can stream it on, I believe it's cw7arizona.com.
Okay.
And then if you also have CW, I know it's in different parts of the state, it might be a different channel, but to find it online, it's really easy, just at cw7arizona.com.
Good stuff, man. And see you down here in Tucson.
Yeah.
For homecoming.
Looking forward to it.
Between the Arizona Wildcats and the Kansas Jayhawks. We'll have all the coverage on Tucson.com. Also, the Wildcaster mobile app. 1:30 p.m. kickoff on ESPN2. And if you got YouTube TV, you might as well just come out to Arizona Stadium and watch that game. All right, guys. We'll see y'all next week.